Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and it is official. Ghislaine Maxwell has been found guilty on 5 of the 6 counts against her in what I would call a show trial. And why am I calling it a show trial? Because this is it, folks. This is it. You are now seeing the burning of some of the perpetrators within this very real Epstein network that spanned those in Hollywood, those in politics, those in bio and digital technologies, all those things, goodbye, say goodbye. And what I didn't like about this is the fact that not only did we not get into the vast majority of the evidence that we know was seized, and even with some of the things they displayed via pictures, there were blacked out material showing they had no intentions of getting into the cohorts, the co-conspirators, and those that used his services whatsoever. Out of the almost 40,000 images and videos confirmed to have existed, they showed you 40. One of them's the thumbnail. Okay? And we're going to talk about the max of, I believe, 65 years, how the enticement charge, which was crossing state lines, again, putting in that plausible deniability that this was something more, that this was connected to intelligence, right? And doing the same for the upcoming trials of not only the other 2 people they look like they're going to burn these people just like they burned Weinstein. Okay? Harvey during the Me Too era cut him right off. Notice no one talks about the fact that the biggest face in that prior to Weinstein was Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby's out of jail like that. Something never discussed. Right? What was the Me Too movement really? What was it? Well, it was to control the narrative of what the abuse was like in Hollyweird. Because that abuse actually involved high-level pedophilia that extended beyond the entertainment industry. That's the reality of this situation. So look, am I happy that Ghislaine Maxwell is more than likely going to spend the rest of her life in prison? You bet I am. She's got another criminal trial on top of Jean-Luc Brunel and Peter Nygard, who I now believe will get burned and will spend the rest of their lives in prison, right? Because those guys could get 20 years and it's over. They're not living another 20 years. Let's be honest, Ghislaine Maxwell, more than likely not living another 20 years. All right, those are just facts. These are pretty much life sentences for these people, right? Ghislaine Maxwell has another criminal trial for perjury that I'm sure will be managed much like this one, okay? So, I believe it was during today's 5th day of deliberation, right? It might have even been the 6th day. Some people are reporting it was the 6th day of deliberations. They had actually asked what enticement was. So I guess they were warning about the coronavirus yesterday and how this could extend into the new year. It's on the 6th day of deliberation that they've got these verdicts. And I want to read through what the counts were. Because again, count 2 is the one where it seems like she got off out of the 5 of the 6. Okay, and remember, out of all the names we've named, Les Wexner, who Maria Farmer, the initial whistleblower, the initial person to go to the NYPD, okay, and the FBI. And remember, Maria Farmer, her sister, is the one that used her own name, Annie Farmer, and was part of this trial. But again, limited scope trial, right? Maria Farmer says that Wexner was the head of the snake, the head of the snake, the head of the snake. And with Dershowitz being named in all of these scandals, what does Dershowitz do? He's his lawyer. Just pointing that out. So count 1, conspiracy to entice individuals under the age of 17 to travel with intent to engage in illegal sexual activity. Guilty. Apparently, to do the same thing, right, count two, the enticement across state lines didn't work. That was the Jane accuser instead of just Jane, Carol Ann, and Annie. All right, count three, conspiracy to transport individuals under the age of 17 with intent to engage in illegal sexual activity. So, all these counts, that's Jane, Carol, and Annie, yes. 4, transportation of an individual under the age of 17 with the intent to engage in illegal sexual activity. And conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of individuals under the age of 18. And again, all of these other co-conspirators were not hearing a word. We never even got to see inside the New Mexico quote-unquote baby-making ranch. This is as limited hangout as it gets. And Peter Nygard is in a multitude of other lawsuits other than the sexual abuse charges against him. And I can't stand it when they don't emphasize the fact that many of these girls were very underage. Very underage. Accusers of 14 years old, right? And the Jean-Luc Brunel, Ghislaine Maxwell ties and the Les Wexner ties to Jeffrey Epstein have barely been whispered about, all right? So I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't look good for you, Nygard. It doesn't look good for you, Brunel. Let's get into those that want to believe in, I don't know, fairy tales, unicorns, and leprechauns. In other words, things like dead man switches. When this news just broke within the last half an hour, I had mentioned how this was limited hangout, how this will tie everything into a nice bow in a text, and how they're not going to get into the real intelligence apparatus that not only enabled this, but was really a part of this network, the driving part of this network, right? Just like Robert Maxwell, who was Ghislaine's father, was a media mogul with the Mirror and the news. And really, what was he? He was an Israeli spy working with other intelligence agencies like British intelligence. And again, the fake news media back in the day when Seymour Hersh blew the whistle, came up with the evidence. What'd they say? Fake news. That's fake. And then he got sued by Maxwell. And 3+ years later, of course, Maxwell's dead by that point. He fell off his boat. He's dead by that point. And then they have to issue an apology to Hersh. It's peddled in the middle of the paper on a sidebar with a headline you'd never even suspect. This has been going on for a very, very long time. And that's why, if you think that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to shout from the rooftops who she worked with, sorry, not happening. Just like, listen, Weinstein, I think one of the reasons they felt like they had to take him down was not only because of all the accusers, but because he'd involved himself with Black Cube and ex-Israeli intelligence, right? Ex-IDF officers, ex-Mossad, utilizing that group against an assortment, right? An assortment of different women, including, I can't, why can't I remember her name now? A lot of people want to give her shite. She was, what was it? Marilyn Manson's ex. Can somebody say it in the chat room? Why can't I remember? Rose McGowan, right? Rose McGowan, basically cut off by a lot of these Me Tooers because she was telling too much truth. So they felt like they had to burn him, right? Has he brought anybody down with him? No. No, he has not. Absolutely not. No other big names. And anybody that thinks that Ghislaine Maxwell is now going to shout from the rooftops all these names. No. Just like there was no dead man switch for Epstein, just like there was no dead man switch for John McAfee, or even you Cappy heads out there, the Isaac Cappy people. A lot of people forget that I interviewed Isaac Cappy while I worked for We Are Change. Probably the definitive Cappy interview. And then I kept in touch with him up until ultimately his suicide, which, yes, he committed suicide. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate what happened to him. But these are realities. And I really fear now what you're going to see on all these different message boards that have promoted nothing but disinformation and confused the issues of reality-based documented evidence and Johnny Q nonsense, right? About all these high-level pedophiles that there's no evidence against. That's what we're going to see here. We're going to see these little leaks of pictures or videos or things that have been around and attribute to them, ooh, is Maxwell leaking information? And I've already seen those people out there saying, you know, look, we got to make sure that she isn't suicided. I would say more than likely they want to keep her alive at this point now that the trial's gone down. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being naive, but I think that risk is actually much lower. But the moral of this story is this was a managed show trial. The vast majority of the evidence that we know was collected, forget about the stuff that we know was not collected or even looked at, was still hidden from the public. The judge was a Dershowitz associate, right? And the prosecutor was James Comey's daughter. So what I see happening again is the controlled burn of Brunel and Nygaard, barely a whisper in the media, none of it bringing all together, the total ignoring of Les Wexner's role, and them just trying to move it along and sing their song. Guys, that's how I feel about it. If you think I'm off, let me know in the comment section. Over 365 people watching. Can we get 200 thumbs on the way out? And I want to remind people not only to subscribe and share to this channel, okay, but please consider coming over to the Rockfin, making the free account, following me there, because they can take my channel anytime. They've taken my channel 4 times. That has nothing to do with the ones where they just strike me down and then I can't post. That we're probably on about 9 or 10 of total of that, and I have to fight them every time. They just took away another strike in the last 24 hours without even telling me. They took away 2. I might have to demonstrate that. They took away 2 strikes. I'm now down to 1 strike, which is still unjust. Okay, the 1 strike is on a video I did on an AMA about Epstein, Ghislaine, Maxwell, a ton of the surrounding evidence, right? And that video, which, you know, I cyberbullied no one, they got me for cyberbullying, and they refused to take that away. So please consider coming over to the Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. Make the free account. Follow me there. If you do want to subscribe, $9.99 a month, $99.99 for the year. It helps this broadcast so much. It helps me travel. It helps me keep up on the news. It helps me go live when things like this occur. And I couldn't do it without you. Also, it empowers me through free speech. We also got the GoFundMe down below, which is another great way to support this program. I haven't been harping on it enough, but again, we're trying to expand. We're trying to get a building. We're trying to get interns. We want to do more steady stream broadcasts so you know when to tune in, and then continually do ones like this. But we can't do that without your help. I do want to remind everybody to check out my documentary films. They are free right here, right now in the playlist section. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, because it is not about right or left, Republican or Democrat. It is always about right and wrong. And this trial especially, this situation especially, should show, even when people like you and I do our best to expose this stuff over literally a decade plus, and we get local law enforcement to move on this because of the egregious nature of the crimes, these predator class demons and their minions still find a way to not only manage the situation, but the information we're allowed to know. So I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.